Hey there, and welcome back to YouTube's most underproduced, poorly produced Amiga-focused channel, Hold and Modify. This is Q, and today we're covering Amiga 1200 speed check. This is kind of in line with my recent videos on performance from the Amiga 1200, and what I wanted to show today was a truly stock performance versus even just a mild period appropriate type upgrade you might do. I wanted to just show what you might expect in performance from a truly stock 1200, and then just installing a mild upgrade, just something to give it a little bit of a boost that won't cost you a lot of money, and see that it does give you a nice quality of life improvement without spending a fortune. I mean, you've already probably spent a lot of money just getting this 1200, and really the 1200 out of the box is an amazing machine. As we know, there's plenty you can do in paint programs like Deluxe Paint. You can even, as I showed, fire up 3D programs that are more intensive like Lightwave. And of course, there's all of the games you can play, which are really amazing and fun. Obviously, my channel focuses on the 3D side of the Amiga and its creation tools. And that's what I'm going to show. I'm going to show you some familiar software. So if you go back and look at my older videos, you can kind of form your own opinion again by seeing how fast things run in older videos versus what I show here and the basics. But one of the things I wanted to mention real fast is I got this in the mail today. So before we get started officially, this international package showed up, and this was from RMC, and that was the Charity Calendar. It finally showed up, and it's beautiful. And this features a bunch of 8-bit micros and 16-bit machines, and in all of various states of decay or chaos. That's a great image of the floppy, the data set as it's called for the Commodores. That's great. I'm not going to show everything. I don't want to spoil it, but I'll put a link in the description below where you can get to this calendar if it's still available at the time of this video's production. That'd be great. If not, then here it is, and maybe if it's not available, some of them might show up on eBay. That's hilarious. Look at that. Look at that glitch out. But yeah, beautiful calendar. Went to help a good cause. His charity program. All sorts charity down there. So I'll put the link in the description for this calendar. But it did arrive. Looks great. Very happy. It'll make a nice addition here in my cave. All right. So this 1200. What can we do with it? What can it do for us out of the box speed-wise? Let's check it out. So here we are with our 1200 in stock form. As you can see, I've got the 2 megs of chip memory and the nothing fast memory. There's nothing in here. And let's go to workbench. We're going to go into system. And already you can see the slowdown you get with the icons here drawing on the screen. Not terrible. It's very normal for this type of performance. And let's type in CPU. And sure enough, yep, we've got our 68020, no fast ROM instruction cache is available there with that. And I believe we still get the, let's go in here, show config. And we're now witnessing bizarreness. All my tabs are here, but they're down here doing bizarre things. And this is, I'm assuming I'm running out of chip memory. Oh yes, I've run out of chip memory. Okay, so there you go. There's one of the first things you can expect to happen. If you install a newer OS like 3.2.1, the overhead in that operating system is going to be far more substantial than the original. So out of the box, 3.2 running on 2 megs of chip memory, not really ideal. I mean, one of the things you're going to have to do to try and reclaim some of that precious chip memory is go to screen mode here and free it up. So I'm in high-res laced right now, so what I should probably do is drop down to high-res, and let's take this all the way down to 4-color mode. We'll do use, as always, to be safe. And of course, it warns you. Volume RAM disk is full, so there's a problem. Oh, can't even, all right. So right here, you're seeing one of the problems you run into with a stock 1200 using the more updated operating system, which is why I would suggest that if you're going to run a 1200 stock, stick to the operating system it shipped with, 3.0, 3.1 and you're going to have a much better time. If you're playing games, you're obviously probably trying to use WHD load, so you're going to have a memory expansion and fast memory. I mean, I'm not saying that you should only use a 1200 without fast memory. I think it's silly, but one of the most basic and first upgrades you should always do to your 1200 is install a fast memory update. Let's go in here and let's take the prefs, screen mode. Look how slow this is. And keep in mind, this chip memory is running in a 24-bit address, so it's really slow. We're going to go to high res, take it down to 4 colors. Let's say use. Hopefully that sticks this time. Okay, that worked. And then what we're going to do is, now that we confirmed that works, we're going to say save. And we are going to reboot once again, because I want to really make sure that I'm... And you've already noticed, and you may have already noticed that even the backdrop images are gone. One of the first things I do is remove the backdrop images and the window images as they take up precious chip memory. All right, so last time we had like 740K, now we have 840K, so that's a little bit more to work with. So now if we go to Workbench, go to Tools, one of the things you can do is close these windows behind you, which helps. Let's do Show Config. Let's see if we have enough graphics memory to now show config properly. There we go. Now we can actually draw the whole screen. So yes, there's the ROM and the statuses, and you can see what's going on here with our, yep, there's our chip memory, 2 megs. And that, yeah, there's not much going on here. Obviously, there's probably a lot of libraries possibly loaded into memory that I don't need right now that are taking up RAM, because this 1200 does normally have a TF1260 in it for its day-to-day use. So we got that to fire up. And then, of course, if we, let's see, we started up with 840K. So we only reclaimed 466K. So we just launching that program and quitting it, we've lost 400K of memory. So that's a bummer. So there are utilities, and I'm sure there's the savvy ones of you out there probably know how to launch shell and type in a command to maybe flush that memory. I'm not aware of that command, and I didn't do my research, of course, before doing this, because a lot of people might just get excited and either, you know, get a 1200 is a good deal on eBay, and they're just getting into the Amiga scene for the first time. I see a lot of videos or a lot of posts in the group where people have like, "Ah, this is my first time actually having Amiga hardware. I never had this." And I mean, you still see those posts to this day. Some folks get a hold of them, and I'm trying to make this video from that standpoint where it's like, wow, I just got this thing, I've unboxed it, I've plugged it in, and what can I do with it? So we got our 840K back. So having that back, now I'm going to go and try and run a program. So that's my landscape program I love to talk about all the time, Vista Pro. Can I run this with 2 megs of chip? No, so it'll tell you right away, not enough memory to run Vista Pro. Okay. In just that attempt, we've already lost some chip memory. So what about Scenery Animator? This program isn't as beefy. And this also has a non-FPU version that we can try. Does that load? Looks like a no-go on that. And again, we've chiseled away some more memory. All right, well, what about our good old standby Lightwave? Not enough memory to run Lightwave. So it looks like we're running into the situation where the 2 megs of chip is definitely a problem if you're running OS 3.2. So the conclusion would be that you'd tell yourself right away, well, yeah, dummy, you don't run 3.2 if you're going to run a stock Amiga 1200. That's stupid. I'm just showing you what happens. I want to show everyone who's new to this, or even those that know what they're doing, or who may be frustrated by this video. I apologize, but at least you can see what can happen for somebody new who gets one of these and just doesn't know what's going on or what to expect. This is what you can expect without any expansion, which is why it is so important to get that RAM expansion and get yourself just a little bit of memory. And even for gaming, if you're a WHD load user, or you're a new user and you don't know what WHD load is, it's a way to play Amiga games that normally are on floppy disks, and you can actually have them installed to the hard drive, and that way you have much faster loading. You don't have to wait for the floppy disks, and games that normally could never run off of the hard drive run from the hard drive. It's a cool little tool to get all your games onto your Amiga, where you can just double click it and it launches and plays. But that requires memory. So even for gamer focused Amiga users, a stock 1200 with 2 megs, even running the original Workbench 3.0, 3.1, you're still going to want the fast RAM expansion because otherwise you won't be able to use that cool WHD load program to play all your games, unless you're fine with just sticking in the original floppies or using a GoTech to stick in the floppies, which is fine. Everyone likes sticking their floppies. It's a fun time when you do that. All right, so let's do the first most basic quality of life improvement you can do, which is install that little fast RAM expansion card. And you can get them super cheap, and they usually come with a floating point unit on them. And you can try and find them without floating point units, and I believe some places like Amiga Kit do offer them without it. But even without it, they usually have the socket on it, so you can add it later. It's because it's so cheap. Even the floating point unit, for being an old piece of technology, and you think, oh, isn't that just as rare as the accelerator cards for the Amiga? Not really. The floating point units weren't in as much demand because not a lot of things used it. But here's the thing. It's so cheap to get a fast RAM expansion card for your 1200 that also has it. Why not just get it? And that way, for the tiny amount of games that may actually use it, you'll have it. And for quite a bit more software, like desktop, creativity software, which will see it and use it, you'll have it. So there you go. And that card, of course, is this one here. This is the 8 megs of chip memory, and then the floating point unit. And then it does have the option for a battery backed up clock, so you can also get your clock settings saved. My 1200 already has a battery backed up clock in it. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in. We're going to leave it set to 8 megabytes, and we're going to leave the FPU on. So this is a nice, $80 American funny money costing type thing, maybe as high as $100. But boy, oh boy, does it bring your 1200 to life. And that's what I'm about to show. Okay, so now we're booted with that expansion card, and already, because we have that fast memory, we're getting all of our precious chip memory back, all the full 2 megabytes. And that 8 meg expansion is burning up about 1 megabyte right now. So if we go into Workbench, already you can see things are better. CPU, so yeah, 68, it sees the 6882, no fast ROM. Okay, so there we go. And then if we go to the tools, and again, look how easy it is to run all these programs now. You're not running into issues. And yep, there we go. But now when you want to go run some software, let's say, look, I'm still going to leave us in this kind of lo-fi Workbench just to help save memory. So now what happens if we run Vista Pro? There we go. We can even open up it opens up a full interlay screen. And then it initializes and draws that line. Now, that is probably, for those of you that watch my videos on a regular basis and have seen me launch Vista Pro, that was the slowest you have ever seen it draw that green box. So we're going to go in here, we're going to go to the graphics panel. We are going to turn on Ham8, but we're going to leave it low res. We're going to keep this as small as I can. And we're going to leave the settings on what I like to call ugly mode. So let's just click render and see what happens. So there it goes. And for this type of quality in Vista Pro, it's still usable as art, especially for pixel style art. There it goes. I mean, it's booking along. It's generating its palette. And well, there we go. Look at that. Some of you might be like, it just looks like a bunch of brown blobs. Well, and others might look at this and go, hey, that looks pretty cool. That's some cool 3D generated terrain. And I can see what that looks like. I can get an idea for that. And sure, you can turn on like some of the lowest amounts of texturing. We can increase the poly count a little bit to try and jazz it up, add some fog. Let's see what that does. So all we've done here is the most basic. We've increased the settings to like their most basic, just to give us, to try to use some of that floating point and power and some of that fast memory we've got. So yeah, you can see the render slowed down a little bit, just adding a couple of those quality features. This has to get to 256. Okay, we got to 256. I did do an edit there. I didn't want to make you wait for the whole time. But so there we go. Now it's going to show us what a couple quality tweak settings can do for the render. So there's the old image and there's the new one. So now we've got some detail on our mountains. We've got some nice little nodular, chunkily things going on. And look, we're even getting some more shading. We got, looks like some gray in there now. So just doing that, and that didn't take that long. That was maybe, I don't know, a minute to get done. And keep in mind, it takes at least 30 frames, 30 of these images per 1 second to kind of make a nice fluid animation. But maybe you just don't make animations. If you don't want to wait, then don't wait. You can make pretty stills. You could use this as part of an image to be used with other things you're doing. You could save this and take it into Deluxe Paint or Image Effects, whatever paint package you want, Brilliance, True Brilliance, and use it as part of a collage of other things you want to do. So this doesn't have to be the only thing you do. This is like Bob Ross 1.0, but you could always make it Bob Ross 4.0 or whatever. So there. So yes, Vista Pro will run, and you can have fun in there. And of course, if Vista Pro is going to run, then a program like Scenery Animator definitely should run. Yeah, so we're in here, and it's going to draw up its terrain. Isn't that exciting? And let's go up to, let's just do a quick load. And let's load in Mount St. Helens, because that's a classic. So look at that. I like how in Scenery Animator, when you load something in, it just gives you like a nice camera view already. You're like, oh, that looks so pretty. So its defaults are low res interlace, 352 by 480. Well, let's turn off interlace. And of course it supports DC TV, which I don't have at the moment. So we'll click on that, and let's click render and see what we get. What I like about this is you can actually see it rendering, which is much cooler because it gives you something to look at while it's rendering. And it also gives you an idea of how slow or fast it's going to be. So like you see this here, this is pretty reasonable because you can see it like drawing in. It's actually like a digital Bob Ross, like, just barely touch the canvas, barely. There you go. Brush. Yeah, so there you can go. We got the light areas, and then you come in here and you get darker. Oh, I mean, I wish Bob Ross was around today. I mean, this software existed when Bob Ross was alive, but it's sad that he never got to actually play with it. No one ever showed it to him, I guess. That would be like, if I could go back in time, I'd want to show Bob Ross Vista Pro and Scenery Animator. I don't know about you guys. What do you think? You can leave a comment down below if you think that would be cool. But yeah, I'd love to go back in time. There's many things you could go back in time to tell Bob about, but for me, it would be, look at this. This is cool. So yeah, it's just kind of doing its digital Bob Ross painting. And we can wait for this, or we can edit and move forward. Let's do that instead. Okay, so I've fast forwarded through here. It's taken about 5 minutes to get to this point, but as you can see, we're in the happy little clouds phase. Oh yes, that's nice. It's fluffy little clouds. And we have this very beautiful, compared to what you get out of the box with Vista Pro, Scenery Animator obviously I think has a little bit of an edge here. I mean, all we did was load up Mount St. Helens and click the render button. I mean, we did change the resolution, but yeah, you get this beautiful, just this beautiful looking Mount St. Helens, the lake out here, and this is just the most basic setting, and that took about 5 minutes. That's not terrible. Definitely encourage your math coprocessors, folks, if you're going to do 3D rendering, as I said in the last video. But you don't need the math co, and what you do need is the memory. I think you've already figured out what do you need. You need the memory. The fast memory is the most important thing. And without that, there's just so much you can't do. You won't be able to do WHD load gaming, and you won't be able to launch most of this productivity creative software. It'll go poo-poo. And this is the classic juggler scene. The juggler was not done in Lightwave, by the way. Absolutely not. No, that juggler was predated Lightwave by quite a few years. But one of the things you can see is that animation really is taxing on the system. And so there's two things that use up a lot of CPU power, especially in 3D software, is memory. You need memory, especially fast memory. And then you need your CPU and your FPU power for 3D software. I do want to show you how long it would take Juggler to render, because this is something that you at home can load up and play along if you have. I'm going to turn off the anti-aliasing because that will make it look more pretty and smooth, but it's going to take way too long. So, and when I say way too long, it's taking way too long for other options, other practical options that you can get for your Amiga. I mean, I'm showing you the most basic, simple, cheapest upgrade you can do that does add quality of life to your 1200. You have to balance your art's, content versus your patience. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like, how much detail do you want to put into it versus how much time you want to spend. I like the challenge of creating art with these restrictions of these older machines, but I do like to really get as close to that line of like, how far can I go and still have it be, an Amiga that's using technology that was available at the time. Things like the 030 expansion cards, the 040 expansion cards, and even the 060 expansion cards were available back then. And the people writing this software were aware of those accelerator cards, and that's why you have options like 040 code library files and 060 library files for software, because they were aware. So that's that fun little balance you can do. And I'm always bumping up against that. Slowly it comes down, slowly. But look at that, we have our little reflective ball. No wonder it took so long. All these reflections. This is math, folks. This is math visualized. Math is very boring. I hate math. I was terrible at math. That's why I have computers do it for me. But that's cool. And how long did that take? Stock 1200. Only thing it has is a RAM expansion and an FPU. Just under 3 minutes. So there we go. We can click quit. The other nice thing about having that 8 megabytes of memory is that you can run multiple programs, of course. So you can fire up. Of course, Add Pro will work. Add Pro will work on like a half meg Amiga. It's pretty brilliant. So there you've got your Add Pro, and then you can open up Forge. And Forge even opens up another expensive interlace screen, as you want to call it. But yeah, there you go. Come back down, close up Add Pro's user commands. What do we got here? We've got 1.5 meg of fast memory left. Most of our chip memory left. And there's Forge just doing its Forge thing in the background. I guess I'll end this video because now I've shown you, what happens when you try to run a 1200 in stock and want to do like creative stuff with it. It's gonna be painful. At least put in that fast RAM expansion. Even better if it doesn't really cost that much more, get one with an FPU so you've got it so you can run this other software and enjoy a little more speed. Speed is good. And then of course if you don't care about any of this creative stuff, get the fast RAM expansion anyway so you can do your WHD load gaming. Stock 1200s are fun. You can do a lot with them, especially with the original operating system. But if you want to get into gaming, you're going to want to do WHD load anyway, and that's going to require that fast memory. So your 1200 is not going to remain stock for long. It really needs at least that fast mem upgrade. All right, thanks for watching. I hope this made any kind of sense to all of you.